Hi ladies, this is lesson 4-3, multiplying monomials, an introduction to the area model, which we will actually call something a little differently when we get back from break. Well, you'll learn something differently over the break. Today's learning target is I can apply my knowledge of the area model by multiplying two monomials or a monomial by a binomial. Over the past few years, you've learned a variety of things about exponent rules. Today we're going to learn how to extend those rules to multiplying monomial expressions. And there are a few things to be cautious of. And let's look at the following example to see what you need to be cautious of. So use exponent rules to simplify the following expression. So if you look, we are multiplying two monomials together. This is a monomial and this is a binomial. And we want to multiply 3ab to the third and 5a squared b to the fourth. So one thing I do before I even do the problem is I look to see if any of my variables are missing an exponent. And if you look, this a right here is missing an exponent, so I'm going to put a 1 right there. Step 1 says multiply your coefficients. So when I multiply my coefficients, I simply multiply my 3 and my 5. What's 3 times 5? 15. Now, step 2 says match up your exponents and add them together. So when I mean that, I'm talking about like match up the like variables. So if I look, I'm not going to do AB and AB, I'm going to do A and A. So A to the first and A squared. What's 1 plus 2? 3. So I have 15A to the third, B to the third, B to the fourth. What's 3 plus 4? 7. So my final answer is 15A to the third, B to the seventh. So now let's simplify each of these questions. We have 5x to the third times 2x squared. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little differently. I'm going to do it the first way we did in the top, but I'm also going to show it a little differently as well. So I'm going to show two ways for this one. So way 1, I'm going to use the way we did up top. So way number 1, multiply your coefficients. So I'm going to do 5 times 2, which is 10. And then match up your exponents, add them together. So x to the third and x squared, 3 plus 2 is 5. So I have 10 x to the fifth. And that's my final answer. If you're someone who thinks they might make a mistake with that, you can do way number 2. Where we expand our term. So if I look, I have 5x to the third, which means I have 5x, because I have 3 x's. And then I'm multiplying it to 2x squared, or I write 2 x's this time. 5 times 2 is 10, and now I count my x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10x to the fifth. Two different ways, same problem. For this video, I'm going to do all the examples like the first one. So number 2 says negative 3x times negative 8x. I do negative 3 times negative 8. That gives me a 24. I put in my missing exponents, 1 and 1. X times x, or 1 plus 1, is 2. So I have 24x squared. And that's my final answer. Number 3, 1/2 times 3/4. 1/2 x squared y to the fifth times 3/4 x to the ninth times y. So for this example, I multiply my coefficients, so I'm going to multiply those fractions. What's 1/2 times 3/4? Well, it's 3/8. So I get 3/8. Now, x squared and x to the ninth, well, 2 plus 9 is 11, so I have x to the 11th. Now my y to the fifth and my y to the first, I have to put in that 1. 5 plus 1 is 6, so I have y to the 6th. That's my final answer. Number 4, y times y. Give me the heads up, it's not 2y. So when I have y to the first times y to the first, I just add those exponents, so I have y squared. And that's your final answer. Number 5, I have 4xy squared times 2xy to the third. Multiply those coefficients. 4 times 2 is 8. This becomes a 1. X to the first times x to the first is x squared, because 1 plus 1 is 2. Now y squared times y to the third. 2 plus 3 is 5. So y to the fifth. And that's your final answer. The area model. When you first start to learn how to multiply two-digit integers, there's a good chance you use the area model. We're going to extend that to multiplying a binomial by a monomial. So when I multiply a binomial to a monomial, what that means is I have a two-termed expression that I am multiplying to a one-termed expression. So let's see how this works. You can use distribution or you can use the area model. For these examples, I'm going to use the area model. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just draw my box and make it universal. That way I don't have to draw the same thing each time. Give me one moment. Perfect. Okay, so in our first example, we have 2x times 3x minus 1. So I'm going to put my binomial up top. So I have my 3x minus 1. I'm going to put my 2x to the left. Now how this works is I'm going to simply multiply. So 2x times 3x, well, 2 times 3 is 6. X to the first and x to the first. That's going to give me an x squared. Now 2x times negative 1 is just a minus 2x. So my final answer is going to be 6x squared minus 2x. And that's your final answer. Let's look at the next example. I have 5x times 3xy plus 2. Don't forget to put in your exponents. So when I do my multiplication, 5 times 3 is 15. Oh, don't forget what the steps were. Draw a rectangle with your lines drawn in. Make sure you have enough space on the top for your binomial and enough space on the left for your monomial. Now go ahead and multiply. Make sure you multiply the coefficients and add the exponents for your like bases. So x to the first times x to the first is x squared. And then I just bring this y down for the ride. So I have 15x squared y. Now 5x times 2, that just gives me a good old 10x. Now I rewrite those two terms on the outside and I get 15x squared y plus 10x as my final answer. Now let's do the next one. X squared times 4x squared plus 3. Note this is really a 1x squared. 1 times 4 is 4. X squared times x squared, well, 2 plus 2 is 4, so I have 4x to the 4th. 1 times 3 is 3. And now I bring the x squared in. So my final answer is 4x to the 4th plus 3x squared. Number 3. I have negative 2x squared y to the 3rd. And then I have 2xy, don't forget those exponents, minus 5x. Negative 2 times 2 gives me a negative 4. X squared times x to the first, well, 2 plus 1 is 3, so x to the 3rd. Y to the 3rd times y to the first, well, 3 plus 1 is 4, so now I have a y to the 4th. And now I do negative 2 times negative 5, that gives me a 10. X squared times x, well, 2 plus 1 is 3. And then I just bring in my y to the 3rd. So my final answer is negative 4x to the 3rd, y to the 4th, plus 10x to the 3rd, y to the 3rd. And that is how you multiply a monomial by a binomial using the area model. If you have any questions, email myself or Ms. Townsend.